Hello, I'm Steve Phillips, and welcome to another episode of Audiobook Club. Normally, a podcast that reviews and recommends audiobook, but this week we're going big. We're going to be looking at a whole new audiobook platform. That platform is called Spiracle, and we think it's like the audiobook equivalent of a small independent bookshop. The editorial manager of Spiracle goes by the name of Sophie Haxworth, and she has very kindly agreed to explain in the simplest terms possible what Spiracle is all about. Hello, Sophie.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And joining us from Adelaide in Australia, the monkey to my organ grinder, it's Matt Layton.
Hello, Steve. Hello, Sophie.
Hello, Matt.
In a moment.
Steve, we've got a woman in. I'm a bit confused and frightened.
Yes, we have had an issue with diversity, Sophie. I'm going to tell you about
this.
We
have had a slight problem.
Two middle-aged white men, generally talking. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We can't thank you enough for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be a tick box for you.
It's not just a tick box. Anyway, we'll park that for the notes and margin bit, shall we? In a moment, Matt will be describing, reviewing, and hopefully recommending Spiracle. I say hopefully because Sophie will be listening while he does it. Sophie, feel free to correct him at any point if he gets anything wrong. But before I make my monkey dance, it's time for Notes from the Margin, our semi-regular feature in which, rather than discussing specific audiobooks, we discuss aspects of
audiobooks and being audiobook lovers and listening to audiobooks, procedural stuff. It's nice to have an audiobook enthusiast with us whom we can ask the questions that we've been asking over the last few months, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, essentially this whole podcast today is a big note from the margin, isn't it, really?
In many ways it is. Pick one of our questions, Steve, and ask it.
Okay then. So, Sophie, do you count listening to an audiobook as reading?
Yes.
Good.
I do.
What makes you say that?
I think, personally, I hate the idea that if I listen to a whole book through and then I tell people, I was reading this book, and then stumbling over myself and thinking, well, I didn't actually read it. Well, I did, because I have read the book, because the book has been consumed by me. I think reading as another word for consuming, in this case, works best. But
it's a shorthand, isn't it? But it's really interesting you say that, because you wouldn't say to somebody, I listened to the audio book of that. I wonder if is there a stigma to being an audio book listener as opposed to actually actively reading?
I think there absolutely is. And there shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be, should there? Damn it.
But there is, yeah. But I mean, it goes back to the historical beginnings of audiobooks, where not recorded audiobooks, but when people would just get together in rooms and have somebody read to them. I'm thinking of Dickensian format stuff. And those people in that room wouldn't think, well, I didn't read that book. Well, but then maybe they would. Oh, I don't know.
This is why we ask these questions week after week, because we haven't got any answers yet. So there are no right answers. It's like, there's a little bit where you feel, I've got to tell them that I actually listened to somebody else reading it rather than making the effort to read it myself. It's a bit...
But then it's as if saying that making the effort to read is more commendable than making the effort to listen. And I don't know, there's something in the sitting and listening and taking it in that way that isn't, I don't think, any less than moving your eyes. I mean, we can all move our eyes.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, it does. It's absolutely true. I'm enjoying this section of get to know your guest as a notes from the margin thing here, Matt. It's good to get another opinion other than yours. You know, no offense. I mean, I meant that in the nicest possible way. Obviously, I worship you. As you know,
you got troubles, pal.
How do you listen to your audiobooks, Sophie? What do you do while you're listening to them?
I'm usually on the train.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the car, or in some sort of moving state.
Yeah.
Or if I'm doing something with my hands, like if I'm making something, I always have to be occupied in some way. I can't just sit and listen. And I think that's a problem definitely a lot of people have. But
Well, I'm with you. You can't just sit there with your headphones on listening to an audio. It's not like we used to huddle around the wireless back in the not we, of course, our forefathers or five fathers, back in the 30s. But it's either transportation or hoovering. That's another one I've found.
Oh, I can't listen over the Hoover. My Hoover's too loud, maybe.
Yeah, noise cancelling headphones. I've tried, or actually, I did try purchasing my phone underneath the neck of my jumper to see if it would stay there and try and hoover. It does limit the hoovering motion. So in the end, I just gave up simply because I couldn't be bothered to go upstairs and get the headphones. I just thought, shall I try this? And actually, I can say, don't bother. It doesn't work.
Right, I'll go back to the questions now because I think you're losing the plot again, Steve. And I am going to ask, what's my favourite one? Oh, yeah. One of my bugbears, one of the things that I have a problem with is when they splash on the cover the equivalent of a sticky label, bright yellow, that says read by the author. And my argument is, in some cases, that's great, but often I just feel that the publishing company has basically can't be bothered to
skimped a little.
Yeah, to find a voiceover artist, and they pump up the ego of the author and go, we've hired a studio for you to record your audiobook. We think you'd be perfect for it. And you always see on day one that the author will tweet with a picture of them wearing headphones, sitting in front of a music stand with an iPad on it, going, my publishing company has hired a studio for me to record. And then you hear nothing from them when they find out how hard it is. I mean, you're closer to this process than I am. As a consumer, do you prefer to hear a book read by the author? And also, I'm guessing at the process, how far off am I?
Well, no, I don't think read by the author is always a good thing. In fact, more often than not, it's a bad thing. I don't think what makes a good writer is the same ingredients as what makes a good reader. There are obviously really, really wonderful exceptions, but they are the exceptions. Without a doubt, all of the authors who haven't read a book before, some of them have, some of them do both, but they come in and say, wow, that was not what I was expecting. That was a challenge, that was a marathon. And also, it's weird. Often they've never read their writing out loud at all before, and they come out saying, oh, that didn't sound like it did in my head, but it's a different beast now. It's a different thing. Yes, obviously, wherever there's an ego, there's somebody thinking, well, that wasn't quite what I expected.
But you understand. But there are also cases where, and last week we failed to review Andrew Marr's Making of Modern Britain, and part of the reason we failed to review it was because I got a version of the book that wasn't read by the author, and I waved my fist in the air and had a good rant, and then Steve said, you've downloaded the wrong one, mate. I've got the version with Andrew Marr reading it. So when you've got a distinct voice that you recognise, you want the author in there, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of the books that I tend to work on aren't those well-known voices, is the thing. So what we try to do is get the best voice for the text and have... Yeah. As I say, the different beast thing, it's not...
It's true, isn't it? I hadn't considered... No, I hadn't considered, of course, something we hadn't talked about, actually, is when the author does come out of the booth and says that's not how I expected it to sound. Those weren't the words they were the words I wrote, but not they weren't spoken to me in my head the same way. My own voice is speaking them out loud. There's a huge difference, isn't there, sometimes? And that's fascinating.
Absolutely. And where we do work with the author, they tend to have written in a way that is more aural, as it were. So I think it's a writing style, a writing method thing. I think a lot of writers will write and hear the words in their mind, and some will write and just see them on the paper. And that I think is the root of what will tell whether they'll be good at reading their own writing or not.
So another question we have, and these are brilliant answers, by the way. I'm loving your insight. Something we do on this show is Steve and I give each other audiobooks as gifts. In fact, we're trying to make it our little trademark of like, we give people audiobooks as I sometimes say, as evangelists for the form. Have you ever given or received an audiobook as a gift?
I have. Yes. I say
What
this
should we be
excitingly
reviewing next
because-
week?
I say this in an excited tone because it's something that we were at Spiracle quite serious about implementing as part of the form. You have to be able to give things as gifts. You have to be able to give an audiobook as you would a book.
So, come on, specifics.
Yeah, sorry,
what did you give to whom?
Yeah.
What did you give to whom?
I gave my brother a copy of His Bloody Project by Graeme, Macrae, Burnet for a long car journey that he was taking. Nothing else in particular reason-wise, but I loved the audiobook. He loved it. There we go.
That's so nice. There's a shared experience right there, isn't there? That's really cool, isn't it? I got you this for your car journey because I know you're going on a bit of a trip.
Mm-hmm.
And
also,
right.
I often make book recommendations to friends and family who I know don't really read. And I know they're never going to, pick up that book that I've so lovingly handed them. But maybe they will if I give them something to listen to.
Do you know what? It's interesting. So I have only ever given books over Audible, and I sent a mate of mine one last week, and I went, he's never going to download it. I've actually spent money on that. The money's gone, and I was sort of being a bit chuffy about it, and then I realised. Well, in fact, what you've just said made me realise that actually if you give anybody a book, there's no guarantee that they're going to read it. So maybe that experience should also be the same in our media. If we want equality with your tree-based atom and molecules books, then maybe we have to accept that with that equality comes the disappointment of people not opening your presents when you spent your good hard-earned cash on them.
Yeah, maybe it's a presents thing rather than an audiobooks thing.
Okay, so come on. Then the other half of that question was, have you ever received an audiobook as a gift? And how did it make you feel and what was it? And who was it from?
Yes, I have also, but it was kind of for a work thing. So maybe it doesn't count. But my colleague gifted me a book on Spiracle, partly to see, how it works.
You were beta testing, weren't you?
How the system would work. And then, but also, because she thought it would be a book that I liked. And I did. It was Njáls saga. I'm very into my oral tradition. So it was, this...
You know the bit where I said
audiobook.
explain it to Steve and I said explain to us like we're idiots. What do you mean, Njáls saga and oral tradition? Sorry, as I say, remember you're talking to two guys who did Alan Partridge 2 weeks ago. So talk us through it.
Oral tradition, let's start with that, is, essentially the tradition of pre-written and just a-written, extra-written, outside of the written world literature. Is how I'd describe it. I'm very interested in how the oral tradition meets the audiobook world because this sense of getting a story that only really began to exist in a verbal form, and then somewhere along the line that was written and then it was recorded again as an audiobook. What I'm interested in is the written part really needed at all?
Yeah,
that's you know what I mean. And the oral tradition is kind of evokes this sense of sitting around a campfire and listening to stories and the old ones. And this audiobook that I was gifted, Njáls saga, it's an Icelandic saga of traditional stories, basically, but in audiobook form. And I'm sure, it was written as a script first and then it was recorded. I receive it in my ears in the same way as I would if I was sitting around the campfire and hearing it. But I don't know, there's something interesting there.
One of my favourite quotes I've come across since doing this thing is Barack Obama. He came out of the studio having read his audiobook, and he'd done a couple of them before, and he was doing a promo video for it. And he just said, some days it's really tough, but it's just a reminder that the written word is only an extension of the spoken word.
I've done audiobooks for my first two books, and I think it's a little bit, and always got to be careful about this analogy, but maybe it's a little bit like childbirth in the sense that you forget the pain because there's great joy at the end of it. As a writer, when you're reading, invariably you're going to come across some places where you go, man, I'd like to make an edit right here. And you just got to roll with it. And then there are days where you're a little tongue-tied. But overall, it's a reminder that the written word, is ultimately a derivative of our voices. And the human voice, I think, maybe can transmit some things that the written page can't.
What you're saying, I mean, when you write down a story that's been told from generation to generation, you then write it down, which kind of, there are going to be mistakes and mistranslations, aren't there? There are going to be glass slippers and fur slippers. And
well, it's a recording of a specific iteration of that story. The thing is with the oral tradition is that it's always changing, and it's not something that you can pin down. And then as soon as you do record that in a written way, record that in writing, you pin a version down, but it is just a version. And it's interesting to think of writing as a recording of a story like that in the same way that we talk about audiobooks as a recording in a more literal sense.
I've never heard of this form. This is the oldest form of literature, surely, isn't it, Sophie? Yeah. That the stories around the campfire at some point, I guess, have to be written down to produce the audiobook. But these are like stories, I guess, sort of handed down the generations and anecdotes and myths and so on. I'm definitely going to have a listen to
not to try and start fights with any global religions. They're good at doing that themselves. But I should imagine that Noah and the Ark story had gone around a couple of campfires before it got written down.
I reckon so.
There you go.
Isn't it nice to have someone clever with us, Steve?
I say it makes such a refreshing change.
It does, doesn't it? Okay, so having reached these intellectual, I've got another question. In fact, what you're going to do is you're going to sort out some beef between me and Steve.
Oh, yeah, go on then.
Steve brought up last week, should we change the name of our podcast? And I said, well, no, Audiobook Club, it does what it says on the tin. It's the best name we've ever come up with for anything. I'm terrible at naming things. What did you want to change it to, Steve?
Play me a book.
What do you think?
Because there are lots of audio, but there is a reason behind this, Sophie. There are lots of podcasts called Audiobook Club, basically, and I just thought that may hinder us slightly in terms of being found.
It's really interesting. This will fascinate you as an audiobook. Excuse me, I'm going to refer to you as a geek. Is that all right, Sophie?
Absolutely,
you don't mind that?
Yeah. No, I don't mind at all.
As an audiobook geek, the interesting thing that's happened is we weren't the first people to come up with the idea of Audiobook Club, because it's audiobook and club, and you sandwich words together, and wow, it's almost, you can tell in some people's cases it's that convenient pun that has almost driven the idea for what they do. And then they find out to review an audiobook, it's not like reviewing a film or a pop song, which is 3 minutes or an hour and a half long. Often it's an hour and a half, or in recent cases, it's been 32 or 24 hours. And you can just see somebody's got audiobookclub.com. Somebody else has got it on Twitter. We settled for audiobookclub.net. And the reason we have a hashtag on our logo is because we couldn't get it on Twitter either. But it's interesting that what we do is essentially quite similar, I think. We recommend audiobooks for people to read. But it's harder than it looks, isn't it? And more time consuming.
I quite like Play Me a Book.
No!
Only, I'm not saying you should change it to you. I'm not going to make an executive decision for you. But I like that sense of a book unfolding before you. Play me a book. You press play and it's just going. Audiobook Club has that kind of membership feel.
Yeah, we've not been so good at that, actually. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. We've not really got round to setting up the membership side of the club.
You say that, Steve, but even though we haven't done it, we have had 12 people sign up to be members, and I don't know how it works or what I have to do with them. They haven't paid anything, but
and conversely, we've not really heard from them. We say every week, recommend us a book. We haven't heard anything from these mysterious 12 people. So thank you, Sophie, for your opinion on that, because that really does. I think we should draw a line before you change your mind. That'd be fantastic. And also, being very English, I feel slightly like we've been self-aggrandizing there with a name of our own podcast question for you.
You know that bit where I sent you the email before, Sophie, where I said, and this is how it's going to happen. And we're going to start with this, and then I'm going to explain that, and then Steve's going to interview. You notice I also said just after that, we may never get there because we'll go off on a tangent. I think we might have, but it was a blooming good tangent, if you don't mind me saying.
So there's the tangent. That's a tangent half hour for you, Sophie. So this is the thing. I guess in terms of Spiracle, Matt has an understanding of what Spiracle is, and maybe you can keep him right here. But yes, so I tell you what, Matt, if you describe what you think Spiracle is, because it was like a fairy tale website opening up before me when I found it, essentially, and the kind of text that was written about, what it's about and so on. So let's get your thoughts, Matt, and then Sophie, you can put him right.
Okay.
Good. All right. So I'm going to open this with a little bit of an interactive section, Steve, because I've done some actual work for a change. Steve, do you know what the dictionary definition of Spiracle is?
What the dictionary definition of Spiracle is?
Yep. It's a word.
No, it's a word. I had no idea.
It's an actual word, yes. Sophie, I assume you know.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me do it because it'll be funnier if I do it.
Okay.
It is, in fact, an external respiratory opening, especially of a number of pores on the body of an insect or a pair of vestigial gill slits behind the eye of a cartilaginous fish. Webster's dictionary defines a spiracle as a breathing hole, a breathing orifice, or a blowhole, an external tracheal aperture of a terrestrial arthropod that in an insect is usually one of a series of small apertures located along each side of the thorax and abdomen. There you go, Steve. That one's
I
free.
think that's clearly what they were going for when they named the platform.
Hey, maybe we could change our name to Blowhole.
Yeah, well, I think they already do.
So if you go to the Spiracle website, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Sophie, is spiracleaudiobooks.com.
That's right.
As Steve says, you are greeted not by the hurly-burly, shouty primary colours of the commercial world, the red and black and white of a tabloid newspaper. You are greeted, I wouldn't call them pastel colours, Steve. It's like one of those Faro and Ball paint cards where the paints have words like elephant mist and floss. And in fact, Moretta's one of my wife's favourite paints, Sophie, is called Downpipe, which I would almost say is possibly it's a grey brown, as you would imagine Downpipe is. It's almost the colour of the font that greets us. It's very fashionable. It's very. I think it would be easy to say that Spiracle is much cooler, much hipper than we are. And I've written down some things. So, Steve, you and I used to work at BBC London on Marylebone High Street. Opposite there was Daunt Books. Do you remember Daunt Books?
Oh, favourite. It's a favourite.
You just want to go there and hang, don't you?
Yeah, you know? It's like stepping back into a nicer time. A mixture of the modern, but like the real kind of. It's not like when you go into Smith's, you're on a mission, really, aren't you? You just got to go and and grab the top 10 hardback before you catch your train or whatever. This is, you want to kind of spend the afternoon in Daunt Books, don't you? Really?
Yeah, I agree. Funnily enough, today, mindful of this, we've got the sort of the linen cotton carrier bags. We've got a Daunt Books carrier bag, and I took it to the supermarket with me today. Just because I wanted to have a Daunt Books bag on me. Nobody here in the suburbs of Adelaide would know. But if one person did, I would look so bleeping cool because I was carrying a Daunt Books bag. And I think, Sophie, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what your website has been website is the wrong word. The point of interaction you have with your customers, consumers,
readers.
There you go. There's a non-threatening word. It feels that you're aiming for that. I've written Steve and I had a conversation. I've written this down from when we were having a chat. It's like a day spa for your mind. It's a premium.
I like that.
Because it is. It's relaxing to go onto your website and be transported by these sort of pencil images of footprints walking off into the distance.
Yeah.
And as I said before, I think, we are in Audiobook Club and Spiracle are in the same business. And I think, Steve, you're right. We probably are W.H. Smith. I think we have referred to the John Menzies bargain bin. But that's what we call the Audible premium books, where they put all the tat on there and give it to you for free. We call that the bargain bin. But in some ways, Spiracle are sort of audiobook club's better looking, posher, more intelligent, more cleverer cousin. I hope that isn't insulting to you, Sophie.
Not at all. It's exactly, it's lovely. It's lovely. That's exactly what we're going for. It's interesting you mentioned going into dormant books, because that's the experience we're trying to go for with the platform. We want people to kind of breathe a breath of fresh air and want to spend time there, I think. Yeah.
I couldn't find it when I went back to the website to look just before we got on and started recording, but I seem to remember you referring to other, not you personally, but the website. There was some bit where it compared other audiobook providers, the ones that we've been shackled to, as being more like a Walmart. And
yes.
Whereas you are the independent, locally owned bookshop. I don't know if you can remember, I don't know if you're responsible for it, but I love that analogy of the Tokyo bookshop that only sells one book. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, that it's sort of extreme curation, which, that's the extreme version of we are only going to recommend you one book at a time, Marioka Shoten. We are offering a few more than that, like a couple hundred at any one time, and it's constantly rotating. But that idea that we've selected and are only offering what we think and we recommend, like your friend, is the very best audiobook.
Yeah, and in terms of what's on the website, so the name. So I was looking this weekend and I wanted to sample something, and I recognized authors' names in the sort of the classics section that I know I ought to have read, if you know what I mean. So there's Catherine Mansfield Bulgakov is in there, like proper literature, Steve, not the tut that we listen to on here normally. And this weekend I bought myself a copy of, this is very hard to pronounce, 100.
Oh, yeah, the Arachne book.
Can you explain what I have bought myself here? I know what I've bought myself, but I'd like to hear how you describe it, how you feel about it.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one, I'm going to be completely honest. But Arachne is one of the small presses that we work with to stock their existing audiobooks. And that one, I believe, it's a collection of micro stories and poems, and there's 100 of them. I'm probably not best placed to explain this specific audiobook.
I think that there are 100 of them, and they're all 100 words long, and they're all read by different voiceover artists. Unfortunately, quite early on, there's an unfortunate German accent, which we'll gloss over.
The Monthly Checker, Part 1. Because I had grown up here, amidst these fields and people, it fell to me to check the barns and outhouses of the farms for things or people that shouldn't be there. On the 1st of the month, I would go to the Browns. On the 2nd, the Müllers. On the 3rd, the Hubers, until I had completed the monthly cycle again, all through the war. I suppose doing it that way, it's possible they knew I was coming, could move or hide things or people, but I don't suppose they would have dared. I certainly never found anything, nor anyone.
Doppelganger. I almost didn't see the you who wasn't you. I was walking past the outdoor tables of the French cafe.
I found it was one of those books. Well, again, isn't it great? Audiobooks, like real books, there are some books you don't read from start to finish. There are some books that you pick up when you're in that kind of mood. And I felt like a better human being for having bought it. I was proud of myself for having got 4 or 5 stories in, and I'm sure there will be a time in the future where I will feel that I am brave enough or pointed in the right direction to listen to it again. But then I look around me here and I'm looking at the bookshelves in my room. How many of the books in this room, the physical possessions, do I actually pick up and read on a regular basis? And is that a wrong thing? And if I were to give that to somebody as a gift and they didn't read it, the act of giving itself of something that is not conventional, not mainstream, I think it's trying to be innovative, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the thing. We don't want somebody to come to Spiracle and think, oh gosh, I really ought to read all of these. These are the ought books. We don't want that. It is just what we would recommend as, yes, mind expanding and all of this, but interesting and the type of thing that you wouldn't necessarily find on another platform because they're not algorithmic books, you know? And I think that's the same sort of attitude you go into giving people physical books with. You give them something that, they're not going to have found themselves, but are interesting, and you think they might think something about it, all of this. And that's what we're going for with Spiracle. We want people to come in and find something, and we, as the people who have selected all of those books, are recommending them to you for that reason.
Mind expanding. That was one hyphenated word that you used in the middle of a very long paragraph there, but that's really key. These books are nourishing, aren't they?
Nourishing, yeah. That's a good one too.
So maybe we'll get into Spiracle itself and how it works and how it's different really to anything else that's out there, Sophie. First of all, can I just ask how you first got into audiobooks at the start in your life?
In my life, I started listening to them because, I was listening to the ones that I wouldn't pick up in physical form, to be honest. And then that got me into what the form brings that's different to the physical form, and I might want to listen to something that I have also read and just bring out a different element in that. But that was why I started listening, to get me out of the rut of print editions sometimes. But on the working in audiobooks side, I was working at a small press called Persephone Books for a while before, when Spiracle was in its very, very early seed stage. And we were approached by Kate Bland, our director, Spiracle's director, and audiobook producer, to see if Persephone would want to sell some of the audiobooks that we already had, as well as make some more ones with Spiracle. And I kind of fell into interest with that and sort of moved around in my life myself and ended up on Spiracle's doorstep. But yeah, so I came from the independent press world, which is the world that Spiracle is directly trying to work with, and then moved on to Spiracle's side. So I see from print side and from audio side and all of this together.
Oh, well, let's get into that then a little bit. So tell us about, from the word go, tell us what exactly Spiracle is, what's its mission, and also, after you've done that, it'd be really interesting to learn how you select the books as well. What qualifies a good Spiracle book? So, yeah, tell us about Spiracle itself and how it works. Yeah,
so, I mean, you were right on the money earlier, Matt, when you said it's the kind of, I think it was Matt who said it, the audiobook shop that you walk into and it's just an independent shop and it's lovely. And you're not walking into it for clarity. It is a virtual space, but it's an independent shop and it's all of those lovely things that you associate it with. Spiracle is made of 3 main parts that we would call the collection, editions, and murmurations. And the collection is all of the audiobooks we stock, which we've selected from various different publishers as the books that we've really loved and would recommend. The editions are new audiobooks that we've produced and published ourselves. So these are always made in collaboration with an independent press. And it's a book that might never have been made otherwise, because it's not necessarily this type of text that's a bestseller that's always going to go top of, Audible's page or anything like that. but that we've read and we think is really fantastic, and is going to be a new audiobook. Wonderful. That's a Spiracle edition. We make fiction and non-fiction editions. And then Murmurations are the sort of extra content around the audiobooks that we put up to expand the world of the audiobooks and their authors and their translators and narrators, all of this, to spend more time with the content, because I think actually often it's very transactional. You get a book, you listen to it, that's it. But we want to create this sense of staying with the ideas of a book, and the books that we choose and we stock are those very ones, that the mind expanding, the nourishing ones that you actually would want to spend time with and talk about more and go more into those ideas. And so Murmurations is this, I mean, you can imagine a murmuration of birds, this whoosh of ideas and all of this. So it's podcasts, videos, articles, blog on steroids kind of thing.
Love a blog on steroids, me, absolutely. Wow. So if I'm brand new to this, so if I'm familiar with the stuff we all hear about, obviously Audible's the big behemoth out there, and a lot of people get their stuff from them, but I come across Spiracle. How do I get involved? How do I get a book from you guys? So I've seen your website. Yeah, tell me how I onboard, Sophie.
Of course. So you can either buy one-off audiobooks, which is what I would hope is a very straightforward process of you add it to your bag. If you don't have an account, you make an account, then you listen to it. Oh, then you buy it, and then you listen to it.
Oh, important,
Or you can subscribe.
We're not tied into I was going to say, but we're not necessarily, we don't have to be tied into a year-long subscription. You're not bleeding us dry.
Not at all, although subscription is probably the best way to get the best audiobooks for your money, because you can do a monthly or an annual subscription. It's £12 a month or £120 for a year, which, if my maths is correct, is £10 a month. And for that correct. You get to...
Don't ask me, love. I do words, not numbers.
Yeah.
I think we'll excise that 1973 line there. I don't think we can call our guest love. The current client got phased out 50 years ago, but carry on films.
Phased out 50 years ago.
God. Oh, okay. So that's a subscription. So
yeah, and for that you get two audiobooks a month. So if
so your price,
you get the audiobooks quite a bit cheaper if you get subscription.
Your price point's a little higher than Audibles.
Yes.
Do you know what? I'm going to ask you, like a journalist, and go, well, how do you justify that then?
How do you justify it? Well, interestingly, the Audible price points are not as they seem. What you buy for your subscription is a token, and with that token you can get any book. The book itself is similar pricing to ours, if not more. One book audiobook can be £20 on Audible, but you're never necessarily going to actually pay £20 for it because you'll just use a token. And that's a quite kind of a complicated agreement that they have with, I'm waving my hand
publishers
a lot.
And so on, yeah.
They have a complicated agreement that means that they can do that. We as a startup can't yet, is the truth of it.
Yeah.
Where we get around that is through subscription, and you get 2 books for much cheaper than you would buy one-off audiobooks. But until we have big numbers, then we'll be able to have those agreements in place, which means we can lower the prices. But
there's something premium here, isn't there, Sophie, around having people carefully curating books as well. And that's something I'd be happy paying a little bit more for, actually. These books, every single one of these books is going to benefit your life in some way, in our view. And actually, it's nice to have that. Whereas, you go onto the bigger platforms, you're kind of reading customer reviews, and it's very, very kind of subjective. It can be, and people who aren't necessarily expert as well. So it does feel like that's part of your service too, eh?
Absolutely. And I mean, you're doing a better job as a salesperson than I am, but
oh, don't say that. That ruins my journalistic credibility. Yes, I'll be selling it on your behalf. I'm very cheap, very, very cheap, Sophie.
No, but you're absolutely right. And we do think that you pay for the time that you spend with a book, and with audiobooks, it is much more of a time commitment in literal terms than you would think of reading a book. And
yeah, I think you know what? And again, if we think of it's interesting you say that Spiracle, part of the decisions that you made as a company when, or the company made as they developed, was that you have to be able to give a gift. You know, if a gift is given in a nice, crisp-looking brown paper bag with string handles, that's a better gift than something in a Tesco's bag, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can think of it as the wrappings, can't you? Like Spiracle is the wrapping paper, and that's what you get.
But having worked for startups myself, and you've used the word startup a couple of times, in order to reach this critical mass where you do get to be making stuff accessible and available at the right price, you've got to keep the lights on, haven't you? And there's always stuff that goes wrong. How is it day to day? Is it long hours and hard work and doing the swan thing where you're paddling underneath but gliding smoothly on the surface?
Oh no, it's lovely. We roll up to the studio, we have some coffee, we have some croissants, we think, oh, what should we do today?
Hey dude, you're talking to a person who my first job at BBC Broadcasting House in 1998 was I worked at Radio 3, and it was my job to order the fruit platter for the drive time show.
Oh my.
Yeah. You're not there yet, are you?
Not quite. No,
Yeah.
it is really, honestly, it's a very homely environment. It's very, we practice what we preach in the ethos of Spiracle anyway.
Absolutely. I noticed that you hadn't got is it a web app? Is it because I noticed there's no sort of actual app yet.
That's big news actually, because well, it's not news yet. I can't give you a date or anything, but we're working on a native app, and that will be the Spiracle player. Because so many developments are constantly happening and behind the scenes. As I say, we're a startup. We're working on it. Things are changing.
Absolutely.
And our player on the web app is great for when you're connected and when you've got the web app.
Yeah.
But native app.
I guess part of from what you say, the books that you recommend require a bit of quiet thinking time, and some of those places where you go to for quiet thinking time, you're not on the internet, are you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, that's great to hear about. That's great to hear about the app. Just we've only got you for a couple more minutes, of course, but be interested to sort of hear, one or two of the titles that you've really enjoyed being involved with. What were your favourites since you've been there?
I think my favourite, in fact, is Insignificance by James Clammer. It was read by Lee Ross, and that is hands down the biggest reason why I think it's just a fantastic audiobook. He's a brilliant reader. He sort of inhales the words on the page and then just lets them out, and you're there. So perfect example of a brilliant audiobook narrator. It's the day in a life of a plumber, and it's this really interesting sort of day in the life story. It was published by Gallibegger Press, who's one of the indies that we work with, and it just this really, really interesting. You get right into the brain of this plumber who's had some mental health issues in the past, and I would just say listen to it. It's brilliant.
Okay, noting that one down for the future there, Matt.
Another is...
that's why my microphone's off. I'm typing.
Oh, good stuff.
I'm writing it down.
Good stuff.
Okay, so here's the thing.
I think Sophie was going to mention one other book there. Sorry, Matt.
But before she does, all right, she can only mention the one other book if she promises that she'll come back when you and I have read Insignificance and talks us through it.
Okay.
Oh, we'll have an actual club. Wow, first time ever. Brilliant. Okay, up for that. Thank you, Sophie. Yeah.
No worries.
You're our first member.
What was the second book? You can have your second book now.
Yeah, second book, 50 Sounds by Polly Barton. And that was a read by the author situation, and she did a brilliant job. And you can tell from what I was saying earlier about different writers who write with their ears as well as with their pen. Polly's definitely one of those, and you can tell from the name 50 Sounds, it's about sounds. I mean, it's not about sounds, it's about much more than sounds. It's a non-fiction.
Having spent an hour with me and Steve, and now knowing us, but maybe we could presume a burgeoning friendship here, given our shared audiobook geekery. Which of those two books would you think it would be best for us to have a go at?
I think you should listen to Insignificance, because it's got the elements of the different narrator reading the words, and I think that's the one you should start with, but I think you should do both.
Okay,
good answer.
Right, you got it. Not because it was about plumbers. You two look like a couple of plumbers, basically. Yeah,
a couple of plumbers,
Sophie,
Steve. It's different.
Well, indeed, yes, quite. Yes, thank you so much for your time today, Sophie.
You're very
really
welcome.
appreciate you coming on, and we will book you in, okay, when we've done Insignificance, and we'll have a chat with it. That's fantastic. And so, Matt, if our dear listeners want to get involved with Audio Book Club, I'll leave you to throw forward to the next couple of weeks then.
Well, we were going to do Geneva by Richard Armitage, which is available on Audible. It's narrated by Richard Armitage and Nicola Walker. And because I know Nicola Walker as Ruth from Spooks, I went, and the voice of the Seventh Dimension on Radio 4 Extra, I went, I'll have some of that. You haven't got round to listening to it yet. I started to listen to it, and I have to confess, I nodded off a little bit. So I'm actually not prepared to...
That's not going to be on the cover, is it?
I'm not yet. Yeah, I'm. It's not. I'm not improved to write movie posters, am I? So, in our the wonderful thing is, Steve, I get to see you next week. I'm very excited because of a number of last minute things that have slotted into place. I booked a flight back to the UK. I shall be there, and you and I will be recording next Thursday at the Brewdog in Waterloo, where they've put a podcast studio in a pub, which is bloody brilliant, and two of my favourite things in one. Indeed,
there you go. Sophie didn't know about that either. Look by the looks of things. Hey, yeah, it's quite good. It's a nice idea. Bit of socialisation, bit of podcast recording. Always do the recording first. We
both agree that you don't do beer and microphones. Do not mix. The beer is after the microphones.
No. Can never do that.
So.
Oh, okay.
We do.
Well,
we're going to have to breathalyze her when she comes back. Sorry.
There's another experiment right there. Sophie's going to do a podcast or an audible reading. 17 gins proud. That's I'm joking, by the way.
Next week we are going to be reviewing the podcast studio at Brewdog, I think, as much as anything else. But in continuing our thing to try and get away from Audible and use different platforms. And again, you always think of yourself, Steve, as less of the audio book geek and fan than I am. But I have never bought anything from Big Finish. And you have done. You've spent substantial amounts of money on buying stuff from Big Finish. And I'm not really aware of them. And I would like for next week for you to explain Big Finish to me. And I'm also bringing a friend of mine along now that we're in London. Hopefully, Uncle Mr. Stuart Hardy will be joining us, and he can help you try and convert me to the Big Finish way of thinking.
Oh, you won't regret it. You'll have a Spiracle style epiphany, I think. Absolutely right. Yep, Big Finish, definitely. Okay, well, that's on the shopping list for the next couple of weeks or so. Sophie, thanks once again. We're going to see you very soon with our little review of Insignificance, and we will catch everybody else next week. See you soon.